Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Kyra. I'm so pleased now to be joined by Lindsay. So welcome, Lindsay, to the Glow Up Girl podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead. Let's dive in. Before you start to drop lots of nuggets of great advice on us, let's learn a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Lindsey Lathrop, and I am a certified coach and gender equity consultant. So that means I work both of the sides when it comes to helping women self-promote and build negotiation skills. And then I work with companies to help them create inclusive and equitable work culture so that those women can thrive and have great careers.
Yes. And man, everything about what you do is so important. And it's so important right now because, we still, unfortunately, some companies, we're still in places. So first of all, I want to say kudos to the companies that have reached out to you, that you are working with, who, is actually addressing these issues and concerns, because it's really important, because so often with women, we are we're sort of like the backbone in a lot of these companies and on these important projects, but not quite getting the recognition that we deserve. So I'm so glad we have someone like you that is out there to help us. The art of self-promotion and negotiating doesn't always come easy for women.
Nope. And nor should it, because we are not socialized as our male counterparts are. So it's, there's the stories we're telling ourselves in our heads, but there's also the stories that society, throws our way. And then we download that at a very early age. I think it's like age 2 or 3, Kyra, that we start to pick up on gender norms. If you can believe that. It's so young.
Yes.
So young.
I mean, yeah. So is that the reason why have you chosen to focus on teaching self-promotion skills?
Yeah. To me, it feels like we all know about the gender pay gap, the gender leadership gap. We know the sad statistics. I don't need to get into that depressing side of things. But, to me, I think negotiating and self-promotion, those two skills are skills that anyone can build. It's not like you're naturally confident, I'm naturally confident. I'm not. I am absolutely not a naturally confident person, but this is the way that we can personally help ourselves change our economic trajectory by learning how to do this stuff. And really, I think we get in our own way because we think that, or we put people on pedestals that can do it, or we'll say, oh, but I'm introverted. It's like, I'm introverted too. Like, I can't wait to go and be by myself after this, but, and like, you can be both, and it's okay. You can learn how to advocate for yourself. So, and I'll say, I grew up in, my career started in the nonprofit sector, which is full of women who will give of themselves over and over and over to the point of burnout. And then they blame themselves that they're burnt out. Meanwhile, they're not getting paid well, and they're not asking because they think it would be greedy or selfish or whatever. And so I saw that all in my, when I was first coming into my career, and I was like, this is not sustainable. And I was never taught to negotiate. And I just kind of picked up on this, this isn't what I want for my life. I don't want to make $40,000 and not be able to support myself or have the kind of life that I want to build. It's just not sustainable. So when I started coaching, this was a consistent theme that kept coming up: this self-worth, lack of confidence with asking for things for yourself, the feeling of feeling like it was selfish or self-serving to leverage relationships. Like, women are will say to the moon and back, they're great relationship builders. But when you take it further and ask about, well, how are you leveraging those relationships? Right. So you can both, you both have skills and strengths. How are you leveraging those? And the word using, I don't want to use people, Lindsay. So I find that so
Yeah.
curious.
It
so
is.
I've kind of launched into lots of different topics here, but to me, I think this is the way forward, and
Mhm.
it doesn't take much actually to build
Yeah.
these skills.
Yeah. No, I think everything you said is so, first of all, it's really important because I understand why this is important to you. But as a woman working in corporate America, I understand and relate to everything that you just said. So, first, I want to talk about advice that you would give to people listening or watching about, the art of marketing yourself. Because that doesn't, people, like you said, people are like, well, I don't want to use somebody. I don't want to people to feel like I'm like just, talking about me, but that's important for people to understand what you bring to the table.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, you cannot ignore the socialization. So anytime you have a thought like that, you have to question where it came from. It starts really young. So if you have you ever heard that phrase, like, you're getting too big for your britches?
Yeah.
I'm like, where does that? Yeah. But
that's a Southern look. That's a Southern phrase.
Yes. Yes. And I heard that plenty of times growing up. And you start to be like, oh, like, in order for me to be liked,
yeah,
I need to be the good girl. I need to play by other people's rules, right? And it's interesting thinking about rules. You probably have heard this statistic. It's like women will only apply if they meet like 60% or 100%, and men will apply if they meet like 50 or 60.
Yes.
Look at your face. Yes. Right. And Tara Moore, who's a leadership coach, she has the Playing Bigger. She wrote the book Playing Big. She investigated this because she's like, is it that women don't lack confidence, or is it something else? And what she found, Kyra, is that it's because girls are socialized to follow the rules. So it wasn't that women lack confidence. It was that we felt like if the job description says these are the requirements, then I'm not going to put my name forward unless I have those requirements, because I don't want to waste the person's time.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Like, always thinking about the other person.
Bingo. So to that, I would say that is very important. Like women for a long, long time did not have resources. So the way to resources was to be liked. So if you think about it, likability for women is a survival skill. And I don't mean to downgrade that, but again, like, get curious where that thought is. Is anyone saying this about you? Like, I'm selfish, I'm greedy. Who's saying this? Or is it just like your brain, which is its job description is to have these, to produce thoughts. You don't have to get so attached to every single thought you have. And there are also people who are self-promoting and they've come up with their own style, and you can too. You don't have to be the like obnoxious guy you're probably picturing down the hall who like loves himself and can't get enough of his own voice. Right. And you don't have to hide either. So there's somewhere in between for you. I promise.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. Because, and a lot of times too, I think with these jobs, job descriptions, that come up, and just say, like, I'm thinking about it from like even an internal, like inside of your organization, chances are the woman has already taken on most of the responsibilities in this job description. And, but you mean you wouldn't just give me the job because I'm already doing it? I think, okay. So that's probably a very that's a sore spot for me, is organizations that, well, it's okay for the person to do the work and have the responsibility, but you won't give them the job. You won't give them the title. You won't give them the money. And I will have to say, I've seen it both ways. I've seen it happen to probably like younger men I've seen this happen to younger men, and I've seen this happen repeatedly with women, where it's like, well, just keep doing it, you know. And then I think a lot of times with women is that women just, you have this hope and belief that the company will do right by you because you are doing right by them. And I have learned, you know, just from personal experience, doesn't work like that.
It doesn't, because we are the center of our own universes. Mm-hmm. So there's this, it's called spotlight bias. So we think that people are watching and judging and just paying attention to us way more often than they actually are, because we're paying attention to ourselves.
Right.
So what happens is, and I think what you're talking about, Kyra, is that we wait to be recognized because we're like, how could our boss not see that we have picked up this action? Like, this person just left.
Yeah.
A full-time person just left. I have taken over their job, and I'm doing my job, and I'm doing it really well. How could this person not notice this? They have their own stuff going on. So that's like your accomplishments, like your contributions, like they do not speak for themselves. And you will be waiting, as you have seems like you have personally found out, for a long time to be recognized or credited.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to be your own PR person at work. You have to give your accomplishments a voice. Otherwise,
you're right.
You're going to be resentful is what's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Cause I've seen it. And this was like when I was a lot younger, when I was like in the waiting mode and waiting to see, you know, if they were going to do the right thing. But now, as I've gotten older and more wiser, now I'm just like, no, I mean, you're going to know about like these responsibilities that I've just picked up that were just hanging out there. And I think there's obviously a tactful way to, so whenever I'm in my one-on-ones with my manager, I'm always, I go through, my responsibilities. And then I always speak to, and now in the additional responsibilities that I've taken on for this role. And then I walk through those, because I never want you to not know or not remember that, no, this is getting done somehow. It's not the magic. I always used to joke when we were working in our office, I kept this like printout on the side of my computer that was like all these different stick figures. And so they all had they all had these different personalities. And so when people would come over and someone was like, okay, so I'm going to need your help with the project. So finally, after a while, I just started to I look at my desk and I go, oh, so which of these stick figures would you like for me to have help you? Because I'm not going to be able to do it right now. I mean, if I already got more work.
Hilarious. That is so funny. I love that.
And it was a running joke with my manager knew about when she would come over and I go, no, would you like for me to call one of the stick figures in, boss?
But what you are doing is so smart, because you are using humor. So humor is such a great play here.
Yeah.
And that's again, like the art of self-promotion. I also use humor and in terms of, and it just helps get the people like, okay, yeah, you're right. And I think also what you're getting it to is that women are way more likely to take on non-promotable tasks, right? So these tasks at work that just get done, it's like the invisible gnomes are just doing it. Yes. I mean, when we were in the office, like office housework, perfect example. That's not getting paid. Like, you're not getting paid for that. And the more you do stuff like that, the more you build this perception of helpful. That's like, you're going to stay in that lane. No one wants to promote office mom. They want to keep office mom where she is.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
No, office, no, we love office mom. Keep her here. Don't send her up.
Because guess who's going to do it? Who's going to do it if she's not? Who's going to do it if she's not here? Yeah, I know. You know what you said is so important. And I think it was a topic. Gosh, I think I had this discussion with someone that I worked with maybe like late last year. And what everything you said, it's like one of those things where sometimes the manager can even be guilty of taking advantage. Right.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
it is that same thing like the office mom, but it's also like when you're the team member that's the most reliable and dependable, and they know that they can get things, that you could do things quickly. They know you can handle a lot of things, that it's like, oh, well, I mean, if I were to like actually carve out this lane for this person to do the thing that they really, really are good at and want to do, then who's going to do all this other like stuff? Because I can't count on these other people to fill the gap. And I think I told somebody, I said, yeah, like I'm not trying to be the gap filler. Like the gap filler doesn't get you the promotion. The gap filler just gets you as the person that they can count on, the person that's reliable, the person that is the first name to roll off their tongue when someone comes and says, man, we have this really big project. Oh, okay, let's call the gap filler in because gap filler is not going to say no. Gap filler's not going to let you down. And the gap filler will they'll kill themselves if they have to in order to, and they're not going to ask for more. Gap filler is not going to go in there and say, oh, I'm not doing this unless you give me $25,000. The woman gap filler is not. The man gap filler is going to say, yeah, I mean, I've already got too much to do. So, I mean, are we looking at a promotion here?
Yeah. That's where I say be Aaron Brockovich, baby.
Yeah.
Like every time I just recently rewatched that movie and I was like, man, this is such a great negotiation movie. Because every time she gets some little more responsibility, she's like, yeah, you're going to pay me $10,000 more. And I love it because if you think about it, like that probably was, if she didn't have a kid or kids, I should say, mm-hmm. I wonder if she would have felt that pressure. So mm-hmm. that's often, I hear a lot of clients talk about this, women especially, where they're like, I'm fine advocating if it's for someone else. So that would be a great tip. It's like, mm-hmm. pretend you're advocating for someone else. And most likely you are, especially if you're partnered up or if you have a family. Like the more money you make, mm-hmm. the more like you get to call the shots at work. Like that impacts your whole family mm-hmm. and lifestyle. So you mm-hmm. are impacting other people by not negotiating or negotiating. Right. So if that helps you, if that helps the mm-hmm. negotiation bear come mm-hmm. out, fine, use that. Know that about yourself, Yes.
So Lindsay, what are your thoughts on negotiating, I would say in a pandemic? Because a lot of, organizations, lots of revenue goals aren't being met currently. Mm-hmm. Lots of people aren't getting, their standard raises just due to everything that's going on in the world. But I mean, obviously being sensitive to that, but the work, probably hasn't changed for a lot of people in their everyday mm-hmm. lives. So what's your advice on, negotiating a new salary during this time if you're a person that's taken on more responsibility?
Yeah. So before negotiating, the first step is self-promotion. Okay. You cannot negotiate unless you have been self-promoting, mm-hmm. which means doing exactly what you were just talking about, Gyrl, like making sure that you have consistent times with your manager where you are sharing your wins, mm-hmm. you're reporting on metrics. Mm-hmm. If you cannot get to that point, you cannot ask for more anything unless people know your value. Mm-hmm. So the advice I've been giving folks right now, just knowing how, a lot of industries are crunched. Mm-hmm. Is it the best time to ask for more money? Probably not. But I bet you have a lot to do around your own self-promotion. So take this time to work on that. And when I say self-promotion, I don't just mean inside of your company. Mm-hmm. I mean outside of your company, in your industry. Like So, this idea of like poachability, right? Like we all know those friends who have like never applied for a job in their life. They just like these new opportunities just find them. That's not by accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have networked and built relationships and leveraged relationships outside of their companies. So it's both. It's both. And like, you need to network inside of your company. So you have to think about who are your career decision makers, or the people you need to influence to get to whatever you want for your career. If you don't know who those people are, like, that's your homework. That's like number one. Who are like 5 people.
Right.
And then ideally you'd have like 5 people inside of your company, 5 people outside of your company. And that kind of becomes your to-do list. Schedule one a month. Like who's like every month you check in and add value in some way. Okay. So the other thing is, like, there are lots of industries that have grown in the pandemic. They have thrived. So don't tell yourself this idea or this lie that there is not money to be asked for. In this past year, I have helped, it's probably around $150,000, $60,000 of raises in a pandemic. To negotiate. So people, I think, are just like looking at their value systems, including companies, and companies know they're going to get left behind if they don't do something around equity, inclusion, pay equity, because younger generations are demanding this. So they're losing out on talent because all genders are there's been an uprising, and I think that we're just going to see more of that. And so don't give all of your power away to the companies, because if those things matter to you, look on best places to work lists and whatever the value is that you have, and start looking at those companies, because if like, there are companies that will pay you well, and you might not be able to negotiate because they have set their pay in an equitable way, but they will tell you about it. They will put it in their job posting. Please, I wish more companies would advertise the pay range. Right? They won't ask you about salary history because that shit's illegal. You can't ask salary history. And a lot of, right? So they're gonna know that stuff, so that when you get to the point where you're saying, is there any flexibility? Do I still think you should ask? Absolutely. But there are other things beyond pay that you can negotiate for. And I think people don't think about those things, even if it's a specific week during March that you always go away, and you like, I've had people put that in their contract. I always get this week off, no matter what. You can do that.
I love that. And I love that. I love everything you just said, because I do think it is important for people to realize that there are other opportunities. And I remember saying this to even to my manager. I was just like, or maybe she like brought it up about something about LinkedIn. I was like, oh yeah, like LinkedIn profiles are like jumping right now. I was like, I have like all these messages all the time about people who are asking me about jobs and, and stuff. And she said, oh, I know, like me too, because, even though she had just started this year, and she's like, yeah, I had to like tell people I wasn't interested. And so, I mentioned that to her, when we were like having a one-on-one. I was like, look, here's the thing that the organization has to understand is that people are hiring. There are jobs out there, and they are looking for good people. So, I mean, either they get on board with, the pay, and people's salaries begin to look like what salaries they're competitive with salaries for all and not just for some, because I said people are going to leave. And then another thing you said earlier that I actually just thought about and realized this week is that about, having those connections. And I thought about it, I said, wow, like since my first job in the internship that turned into a full-time job. I have never like found a job through like applying for a job. It's always been somebody saying, hey, we've got this opportunity here, and I think you'd be good for this role. So go ahead and apply it. And I'll tell them, I've already talked to like the hiring manager. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I've not had to like actively like see, like I've applied for a lot of jobs, right? But all the opportunities that I've taken have come from like connections and somebody saying, I had a boss from a previous job that hired me at a previous job to hire me at the job I'm at today. She was like, when she left, she's like, oh, I'm going to come back and get you. And I was like, yeah, sure you are, lady. And, like maybe like 2-3 years later, she's like, well, I'm here. I've got this opportunity. I want you to come work for me again. Yeah. And so, I think that's so important. Like what you said about making sure you have those connections inside the company, but also making those connections outside. And right now is like still a really good time. I mean, you can set up Zoom calls with people. You can meet people just in the industry, I know. And it's like, what are you afraid? Like, what do you have to lose? Like all people can do is say, hey, no, I'm sorry. I'm really busy right now. I can't. But a lot of times if people are really like if they're having a busy period or time, they may be able to connect you to someone else. And so it's just, yeah.
But not may, ask them to.
Yeah. That's
because
very
again,
true.
Like everything you just talked about, that didn't just happen because of the universe. Like that happened, Kyra, because you were intentional. Your connections remember you. Like I know a lot of people have different relationships with the word brand, like having a professional brand. I get lots of eye rolls about that, but
it's important.
It's important. Your brand is your reputation.
Yes.
So like that woman you were talking about, she could have gone and worked at like some other industry that's not even related to yours, still remember you as a worker, a professional, and been like, I want her energy. I don't care. We'll figure a way out or a way to transition or like, get her over here. That's, I think women, again, it goes back to this, like following the rules. We're like, well, I don't have that. It does not matter. Do you know how like transferable our skills are?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. And yes.
So don't get so literal. Like,
yeah,
I know. Okay. Maybe you don't have a finance background, but I bet you like, if you're interested in finance, what do you do personally around your finances? Like all of this applies. It's not just if you have a credential or a degree or whatever, like life experience matters, and companies, I will say, are making more of an effort to integrate that into their hiring and recruitment strategies.
Yeah, I definitely think it's like a thing of the past when you are going to an industry that you may not have worked in or you don't have experience, because like I work in marketing in my everyday role, and the company, I work in lighting now, and I hadn't worked in lighting. I mean, I've worked at agencies, I've worked like for trade show companies, I've worked for a baby product and toy company. And I remember like saying, someone, I'm like, yeah, but guess what? At the end of the day, marketing is marketing. You're marketing to people. As long as I understand who the target audience is and I understand their pain points and their motivations, I think I'm good to like come in here and do a similar thing that I've done everywhere else that I've gone. So, don't let people try and, trip you up when it's not an industry that you've been in. And I see it happening more often, of course, as a woman with men, because it's like, oh, well, I've been working in the industry for like 30 years. Well, congratulations to you, sir. I'm very proud of you. Glad that you found one industry that you want to work in forever. But me, not so much. Wanted to work in different industries, touching different types of products, because products are products. It's just how you market, how you tell the story.
Exactly. And also, Mr. 30-year career, like it's probably time you had some change, because you're probably getting stale,
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I do think that attitude, or like, I think companies would see someone in a career even for 10 years and be like, that's kind of strange now.
It definitely, I think it definitely is. And as long as somebody's not jumping like every 6 months to a different job, right? But if somebody was like only in a job for like a year, or I am always open to that as a hiring manager, to like still look at them, because I'm like, guess what? I applaud people for being able to step away from something that isn't working for them. Like, life is too short, many like 20, 30 years ago, you got in a role and you maybe stayed in a role that maybe didn't feel good to you. And you're like, oh, I'm just going to give it another year and see if it changes. Oh, I'm going to give it, and maybe you do that. I said, but I applaud people for being able to say, this is just not a good fit.
Yeah.
And we've decided to I've decided to go somewhere else. And I see nothing wrong with that. But I hear a lot of times, like, people, like older people being like, oh, there's just a lot of movement in the resume. And I was just like, oh, okay.
They need to update their files, because it's just gaps. Even like, I get a lot, because I write resumes, and like I get a lot of concern around career gaps. It's like, who doesn't have a gap? Like, and there are ways, again, to frame it in a creative way, so that it's not so glaring, like, I was unemployed. Like, okay, a lot of people have that, and there's and it's not like you weren't doing anything.
Life, sometimes life happens, and I would much rather like someone just come in and have an honest conversation about their journey and where they've been, where they want to go, versus somebody trying to like, pad it and go, oh, well, this happened. Hey, that's your life. Like that, we're good. Let's talk about today and where you want to go, how you want to move forward. So, yeah. So what, Lindsay, talk to me about some of the ways you help women who may lack the confidence, to talk about themselves. I know we've talked about a lot of things here today, but it may not be as easy for everyone to sort of, to start that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to answer that first by giving a tip. So knowing that this is not easy for lots of us, buddy up. So there are a couple of buddies you should have. One is an amplification buddy. So this is someone at work, could also be in your industry, because we're doing both approaches here, but you just have each other's backs when it comes to sharing each other's wins. So I'll give a really tangible example. My husband and I, both entrepreneurs, back before the pandemic, we would go to very similar networking events because we kind of are in similar industries. Before we would head in, we would pick a person. Each of us picks a person. Who do I need to be introduced to at this? What do I want you to say about me? And I did this vice versa. And it was so interesting. It's like when Colin would introduce me to this person, it was like a completely, oh, wow, that's incredible. And vice versa. It's like, it was like a hype man, you know? And so that counts. And so this can be online as well. Like, think about it. It's like social proof, right? This person is like, but you can do this strategically. And like, if you want your boss to know about something, but it will be more impactful to be heard by someone else, enlist that person, get them to do it on your behalf. Okay. So that's amplification. I like
that. Yes.
And then the second one is an accountability buddy. So pair up with someone else who lacks this confidence and just say like, hey, would you co-work with me for like an hour a week? And we just focus on LinkedIn this time. Like 30 minutes of it, we're just going to work on our profiles, maybe set a goal of messaging 2 people that are important to us. And then like, let's just check in, or like, would you read my profile and I'll read yours? Like, what would you change? So this becomes your like your self-marketing buddy. And then you can set some specific, career marketing. It's just like having a marketing plan, but it's for your career.
Yes.
So those are 2 tips. And the ways that I help women, I have a course called Promote Yourself Professionally that teaches women how to do like all of the aspects. So not beyond a resume, I have resume covered on there, but LinkedIn profile writing, thinking about how to actually have an Asana template that has all of these ideas. How do you pitch yourself to podcasts? How do you start writing LinkedIn articles? Where do you begin? Because you don't feel like you're an expert in anything. You know, what else? There's how to make the most of your manager meetings, how to ask for raises. So there are specifics. And then I'm kind of a dork for this stuff. So if I ever see someone like on LinkedIn self-promoting really well, I screenshot it. And I'm part of, there's a Slack community called Ladies Get Paid that I love. And I noticed recently there's a woman in there, Sarah, who had posted a link to her LinkedIn post that she wanted to get in front of people. And she asked the group to go on LinkedIn and like and comment on it.
I like
and
it.
What did I do? I went and liked and commented on it. So this is like what I mean is like, get out of your own way for asking for help, because whenever, and if your ask is so specific, like, Lindsay, can you write me a LinkedIn recommendation and cover these 3 areas? Okay. Or better yet, like, Lindsay, I wrote this testimonial based on our work together. Are you cool to post this, or would you change anything? Feel free, because I would love a testimonial or review from you. But that's like taking the initiative, writing it, making it so simple for the person to do it. But people will do it if you ask them. So if you have those kinds of tangible things and you're buddied up, you're more likely to follow through with it. You know, so Promote Yourself Professionally is my online course. I work one-on-one with women, usually for 3 months at a time, like with a very specific goal. So whether that's going for a specific promotion, switching industries, negotiations, asking for, you know, a certain benefit of some sort. So coming up with that kind of strategy. And then I run free workshops all the time. So I'm a global facilitator for Google's hashtag I am remarkable. And I'm in the top 100, which is pretty cool. And
awesome.
So that initiative definitely, we actually just ended hashtag I am remarkable week. And that initiative is all around helping women learn the skills of self-promotion, women in underrepresented groups, and then challenging the perceptions of self-promotion, because both men and women don't like self-promotional women. So how do we, even women to women, right? Like, how do we break down some of those negative perceptions? So those are really the areas. And then I post on my Instagram, lots of different tips. I have a blog that has, again, lots of examples of how to do this stuff. But it's just, if you can tell, you probably can tell, I could talk all day about this.
I love I love it. And I think it's such helpful and needed information. What can you tell the audience your website, how they can find you on social?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram, I'm at coach_Lins, LINS. And then my website is lindsaylathrop.com.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you. This has been such a great conversation. So I love talking shared experiences, and especially when it's things that can help women. Obviously, no offense to my male listeners out there, but I think that when it does come to us being able to self-promote, it's a journey. It takes some steps to get there. It's not the first thing that we are comfortable with most times, even if we are doing amazing things. It's like, oh, well, I mean, I don't want anybody to think that I'm like, look, getting too big for my britches.
Yeah. Get big for your britches. Let's just mic drop there.
Bust those seams,
bust out
girls.
your britches.
So maybe when you have that thought of, I don't want to get too big for my britches, just say, bust the seams, girls. Bust the seams.
Let's start that as a hashtag.
That's right.
That's great.
Hashtag who's busting seams today? Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're going to move into our last segment, which is 5 Things with Lindsay. This gives the audience a little bit more insight into who you are. So my first question is, how do you start the day?
Oh, that would be in my garden. I have a vegetable garden and cup of coffee and watering for the day.
I love that.
Yeah.
What motivates you?
Oh goodness. I am motivated by, I just want to have a really great life, and I want other people to have a really great life. And for women, like, I want you to make as much money as possible so that you can buy and have the lifestyle and flexibility and do work that you care about. So that's what motivates me.
I like that. I like that. What do you like to do when you're not working?
Um, so I got a puppy during the pandemic, and he keeps me very busy. So I just love, he looks like a little Ewok. He's great. He's a little Muppet. So I'm usually, we're entertaining each other. He's he's a hellion.
I have to know his name, of course.
His name is Remy, Remy.
Oh, I love it.
He's often on my Instagram.
Well, I'm definitely going to make sure we're following you, because I love, I mean, I have a fur baby too. And we gotten him probably all my years sort of like run together now, but yeah, I mean, he's 3 now. And just like the time that we've been together since the pandemic, like he is with mama like every day. So when I had to go into the office couple days last month, and like when I came downstairs and he saw me like with clothes on, he was just very confused about like, what is going on here? And he was acting really strange. And I was telling my husband, I was like, Max is acting really strange. And my husband's like, well, just leave already. He's like, you keep hanging around here. You're making him like anxious about like that you're not going to be here. And I was like, I know, but I just was hanging out a little bit longer because, and I was like, it's just me. It's me. I have the hard time leaving.
Totally. Meanwhile, Max is like, he's like, okay. He's like, but mom needs me.
Yeah. And he was like, so then when I left and when I got into the office, like I was looking at the camera and I was like watching, and my husband's like, yeah, when you first left, he was lying down there he was at the door for a while, like you going up to the garage. And he's like, and then I saw him like in here in the office where I work all day, and he was lying in his little spot. And I was like, oh, okay, I need to leave. I need this to end right now. I need to go back home. Max needs me. I gotta go.
That is so
crazy. What is my next question for you, Lindsay, is what's a song that you're currently playing? What's in your playlist?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm like a classic rock girl. Like I'm kind of like, my goodness. I'm like a Led Zeppelin girl, Rolling Stones. I grew up listening to that stuff. So it's just like, it's always in there. I'm just like classic rock girl, but nice. I wish I could have like a cooler answer.
I like it. Hey, and the last question is, how do you end the day?
End the day usually with Remy. Goodness. Well, usually we'll watch like a show. I just finished Lula Rich, the documentary on LuLaRoe. Oh my goodness, so good. With my husband. Okay, and we always end the day. We've had a gratitude journal that we started when we first got married. We both write in the same one. It was kind of funny because like you're first married and you're like, I'm grateful for my husband, or like I'm grateful, and now it's like we had tacos for dinner.
I'm grateful for tacos.
I'm grateful for tacos. But it's just like, it's a nice practice. And so we each write 3. We've been doing it for like 7 years. So
I love that. Awesome.
Last thing.
And you keep all the journals, right? So I love
so
that.
It's kind of fun. You go back to, do you see what's going on the previous year? At least I do. Yeah. And I'm always like, Colin, did you know we were 2 years ago? He's like, he's such a present-minded guy. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm either in the past or in the future.
He's like, I know what we're doing now.
I'm about to go to bed.
Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you. That was that's a great answer and a good suggestion out there for couples, because I hear a lot of people like I journal, but I generally journal on my own, but never really thought about inviting my husband to the party. So maybe I'll invite him to this party.
Yeah, it's just, and I'm not a journaler. So this is a really great, like, I like the 3, like get in the 3, and it just helps you think about the day, you know? So, and then you can see what they're grateful for. And it sometimes sparks really cool conversations.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for joining the show today. This was such a great and informative conversation that I know my listeners and watchers out there will definitely take a lot from.
Thank you for having me. And thanks for having this podcast. It's incredible. I've been listening, and like you, Gyrl. Yeah. So amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Well, you always have a place to come back to. If you want to share more information, please feel free. Come back and see us again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Right. Oh my gosh, I'm going to say, take care, everyone. No, I'm not going to say that, people. I'm going to say, stay tuned. I will be right back.